Hello and welcome back to Josh Davidson Books, my author YouTube channel where I'm continuing my reread of my first novel, Werewolves Hide, as part of my preparation for my ongoing work on the next book, Book 2. We are getting ready to read Chapter 11, so if this is your first video, stop and go back to Chapter 1, start over from the very beginning. If you want to read at your own pace or enjoy the story yourself and not have me ruin it with terrible reading, you can purchase it for $4.99 for the digital version. I do have a link in the video description. I'm trying not to spoil future parts of the book, but it might happen because I'm not just reading the book. I'm also providing author commentary, so behind the scenes thoughts, ideas that I had, kind of why I was doing certain things that I was doing in writing the book, and I'm trying to remind myself of what actually happened in the book, again, in preparation for book 2. So here we go. We're on chapter 11. We just finished basically Madison and Tommy's little mini trip to the lake and the cabin, I believe. All right, so chapter 11. Madison sits outside on her front porch during her lunch hour the next day. The chair and table set have matching green arms and legs. The tabletop is made of glass and quite dusty from years of non-use. A notepad and pen sit on the table as she slowly dials her phone. Using the same earpiece she spoke to Bo on yesterday, she makes contact with the person she is dialing. "Hello?" A disgruntled man answers on the other line. "Yes, hi, is this Ryan?" "Depends who wants to know. I'm on the do not call list. If you're a solicitor, you have to hang up." Okay. "No, sir. My name's Marilyn. I'm from your insurance company. We just had a few follow-up questions about the accident from last week." She clenches her teeth as she is nervous about impersonating his insurance company. "How many times are you going to make me relive this?" Ryan is in no mood to talk about this anymore. "Sir, so this whole scene, all of this, was added after the fact. After I added in 3 more chapters after the first draft, I wanted to add a little bit more of the investigatory side with Madison here. I can't remember the reason why, so we'll find out. But these whole couple of pages were brand new as well, outside of the other chapters. Let's see. Sir, I promise I'll just cover the info I need and let you go. I've dealt with these types of things in my personal life, and I know what a headache it is. The recording of your statement of loss was corrupted, so I was just needing to reconfirm we had the details correct to update the file." Madison holds her breath as she anticipates Ryan hanging up on her. "Effin' computers. Okay, make it quick." To her surprise, Ryan stays on the line. She sits up and readies her pen over the notepad. "Perfect. The file notes show that you described hitting some kind of animal. I just wanted to verify the animal's description and clarify where it came from." A video paused on her phone screen shows that she is re-watching the news report from television to remind herself of what Ryan described occurring in the accident. Did it walk out in front of you? Did it jump out in front of you? Was it from the driver's or passenger side of the roadway? Things like that. It was the passenger side. It came out of nowhere. I don't know if it stopped out from the rocks or jumped right in front of me. It didn't exist in my world until it was right in front of me when it was too late. Madison continues writing notes. "And the impact point was just the front end, correct? It didn't hit any side doors or anything? Roll on top of the vehicle, maybe?" "No, dead center, front end. May as well have been part of the road. I didn't hit that animal. It hit me." "And what kind of animal was it?" "Like I said, I don't know. Closest thing was like it was a wolf, but it was big, like Bigfoot big, and it walked upright with 3 white scratches or slashes of some kind going down its left shoulder. Its fur was some kind of reflective material because I remember seeing a lot of light shining back at me in the moment." "Okay, Ryan, thanks so much. I promise not to bother you again." "Hey, when am I going to get my check?" Madison hangs up the phone without answering his question. She looks down in her notepad, which has description details of the loss and a crude sketch of a dark wolf with 3 white slashes on its shoulder. So in rereading it, I feel that Madison is like a very logical person and a problem-solving person, and I think that she wanted to be sure that it was literally exactly the same wolf, because Bo is completely sure because he was there and he's right and he's kind of out for revenge, whereas Madison is a little bit more patient, a little bit more methodical, and she's really wanting to verify the details that it's not 2 similar wolves, that it's the exact same wolf. So now we have a scene break, and it's later. Later that night, Lacey and Billy the dog sit on her couch in the living room. Bo is pacing around the kitchen looking for his truck keys. He pats his pockets and checks the top of the fridge, but can't seem to find them again. You know what I was thinking of the other day? Lacey asks Bo while she scrolls baby toys on her phone. What, babe? Bo is kind of preoccupied, but is listening. I was remembering how I used to love bunny rabbits. My mom and dad would buy me one almost every time we went grocery shopping, and then I'd get special ones for like good grades in school and such. Uh-huh. Bo is still rummaging. I was thinking it was weird one day when they asked me to give all my bunnies away as a donation. Told me it was time to grow up and help more needy kids than me, which I like helping people that need help, but I also really liked my bunnies. Okay, Bo was wondering what the point is. So I was thinking maybe our daughter could get the same thing. Maybe we get her bunnies, but this time don't take them away. So this whole conversation between Lacey and Bo was something that I retroactively added once later story elements revealed themselves, right? So there's some things that happen at the end of the book that I wanted to tease at different parts throughout the book, and this is one of those conversations that I went back. I think when it was first written, it was, let's see. Trying to see. Okay, yeah, no. When it was first written, well, I don't want to spoil ahead. When it was first written, it did not have that back and forth interaction. It started with what I'm getting ready to read right now. Bo doesn't care and just wants what he's looking for. Sure, babe, whatever you want. Have you seen my keys? No, babe, I haven't, Lacey responds in a mimicking fashion. Bo looks out the side kitchen window toward his mom's trailer and sees it's parked at her place again. I gotta stop doing that. He heads over to the couch and goes down the line to give everyone kisses. He starts with Lacey, then kisses her belly, and finally kisses the dog on the top of his head. Good boy, Billy. He pets the dog on the head. Billy's ears perk up as he leans into Bo's hand. Bo opens the door to leave, but stops and turns around before exiting. Babe? Babe? Lacey questions back, mimicking again. Do you know anything about the car I crashed in from when I was a kid? Like what? What color it was or something? No, like... He's not quite sure how to ask without sounding accusatory. Like what happened with it maybe? Like who owned it after it wrecked? Lacey shakes her head slowly. No, why? She's oblivious to the point he's making and appears genuinely confused. No reason, just thinking about it a lot with that crash from last week is all. All right, I'm out of here. I'll see you. But Bo blows her a kiss and opens the door. Hear you, Lacey replies just before the door closes. Right, so that's where the conversation used to start, which was Bo trying to figure out, because, I mean, Bo is obviously like completely in love with Lacey, trusts her all the way, but he can't help but be confused or suspicious by the fact that the vehicle that his car accident was in is registered to her name. So he was trying to tease out some information, but he didn't get anything from her. That's where it started. I added the little bit about presents to buy their own daughter after the fact. Lacey replies just before the door closes. She looks at the entrance to make sure he's gone before changing the browser on her phone. She switches the web page from different stuffed bunny animals to a job search, trying to find something for Bo since he clearly isn't helping himself. Yeah, you see me? See me finding you a job, you cute, lazy expletive. Buy the book if you want to read all the swears. Outside the trailer, Bo has already walked over to his truck at his mom's house. As he starts the engine, Hank suddenly bursts out of the trailer and approaches the passenger side door. He talks to Bo through the rolled down window. So yeah, before the lawnmower scene, this was like where we followed up with Bo, or with Hank, after his reintroduction to the story, and it just seemed like too much, too soon, too fast. So I wanted a little bit more. I wanted an extra scene where they interacted a little bit more. But I don't want scenes that are wasteful or don't matter, that are just people talking. If they're talking, it should be talking about something important that matters, because it's entertainment and I want people's attention to, stay on it. Let's see. Hank bursts out. He talks to Bo through the rolled down window of the truck. Can I tag along? You can cuss me out or punch me in the face, kick me or break my arm. Anything I can do just for a little time, I'll do it. Hank is pleading. Bo rolls his eyes and looks out his driver's side window toward Lacey's home. He licks the inside of his cheek with his tongue while deep in thought. Hank waits by the truck in desperate anticipation. Bo laughs at himself as he can't believe the situation right now. His head slowly knocks against the steering wheel before stepping out of the truck while the engine runs. He walks to the front of the vehicle in front of the headlights. Hank also walks around and meets him in the center of the bumper. He sees an opportunity to keep convincing Bo. I mean it, Bo. Anything that will... Bo cocks back his right arm and unloads on Hank with a wide swing haymaker, punching him across the face. The punch makes Hank stumble around and fall to the ground slightly as he holds his left cheek, which is cut and bleeding. Bo groans in pain and wipes his bloody knuckle on his pant leg. He climbs back inside the truck and lights up a cigarette as Hank stares at him, slightly terrified. Bo revs the engine to intimidate Hank even further as he's still sitting by the front tire on the ground. Taking a drag off his cigarette, Bo obliges the request. Let's go, jerk. Calls him something else. So yeah, I wanted this idea of like, you know, Hank isn't going anywhere. He mowed the lawn. He said he's sorry. It was 20 years ago. Bo is an adult. He still absolutely has a right to be traumatized and scarred by what Hank did to him and Denise, but he also is like, you know, kind of man enough to hear him out and hear what he has to say. So I thought, Bo can't just let Hank get in the truck. He either needs to get some sort of revenge or just relief out or just kind of pent up anger. So I just thought, what if just Bo calmly punches him in the face and then I accept that Hank's allowed in the truck now because I got to punch you in the face. And so that just kind of worked for me, which is why we did that. Hank doesn't wait to be told twice. He swiftly gets up off the ground and climbs into the truck's passenger side door. Bo puts it in reverse and backs out of his parking spot. He then slams it into drive and punches the accelerator, causing Hank to fumble with his seatbelt as he tries to put it on. They leave the trailer parking lot in a cloud of dust as the tires squeal. A while later, Bo and Hank are driving on a rural road between the trailer park and the rest of town. The absence of the town's amber glow makes it easier to appreciate the moonlight gleaming off the truck's hood and windshield. Hank looks up at the night sky while Bo is driving. Hank tries some small talk. Beautiful moon tonight, huh? Bo has his eyes on the road and responds sarcastically. Sure. Have you ever noticed it before? Ever stopped and paid attention to it? The moon? Bo clarifies. Hank nods in the affirmative. Yeah. I mean, I'm aware of it. I know it's up there. But no, I'm usually busy with my own stuff, trying to make sure I hear what people say to me. So no, I don't think about the effing moon. So of course Hank is the reason he can't hear. So he's taking another shot at him, basically. Hank is for some reason surprised by this. Interesting, he says cryptically. So where are we headed? The bar. Bo keeps his eyes forward still. So you got into drinking then. You like it? Yep, it's Blue Ridge. People drink. You'd know that if you lived here, but you don't. You left. Hank nods his head up and down. I did, you're right. And I used to drink too. So I'm not judging you or anything like that. Just understanding, learning. I've been sober going on 12 years, so I guess if you need me to drive us back, I can. I'll be fine to drive. Don't touch my effing truck. Hank is shocked at Bo's suggestion of drinking and driving. Bo, that's dangerous. You could kill someone or hurt yourself. If you're going to choose to drink, you should at least do so responsibly. No one else should have to pay for your actions. Bo is having enough. I made it this far without your advice. I'll make it the rest of the way too, so quit trying. Oh, of course. Your decisions are your own entirely. I'm just trying to share some knowledge I've gained over the years. I learned the hard way. I want you to not have to, that's all. The reason I brought it up goes back to what your mom was saying about me needing to talk to you about something. Bo couldn't care less. So, again, this is characterization for Hank. This is the strange relationship that Hank and Bo now have, where Hank is trying to get into Bo's good graces. And as far as we can tell by the way that he's acting and by the way that he's talking, I'm really establishing that potentially there has been a new leaf turned, that it's been long enough, he's been clean enough, and he really did kind of the hard work and the introspection to try to make things right. And I really was going for kind of a sincerity here, Let's see. Bo could not care less. Well, you're doing an awful lot of effing talking now, so what is it? Hank, again, is keeping things close to his chest. It's not something I can really tell you. It's more of a show you thing. Bo finally looks over at Hank in disgust. And what is that supposed to mean? You didn't become another priest trying to do something to kids, did you? And again, I think the character of Bo, which again, I mean, it's an easy joke. It's a simplified joke. It's a joke that a character like Bo would make to tease somebody about priests and altar boys. And so, but it's not that, priests and altar boys matter, but this sense of culture and community and religion definitely plays a bigger part later in the story. And so I thought it was like, okay, this is kind of a fun way to make a joke, make a really lowest common denominator dim-witted joke, but then also kind of foreshadow or tease a little bit stuff that actually matters later. Always trying to do more than one thing at once when I'm trying to make a joke or dialogue or something like that. Hank is appalled at the assumption. Oh no, for crying out loud, Bo. I was a drunk. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm the best version of myself now, and I feel a responsibility to help you reach your best version of yourself if that's something you want. If not, that's fine, but at the very least, there's information that needs to be shared with you, and a noisy bar of drunks is not the place to do it. Bo is finally slightly intrigued. So where then? Much later in the night, Bo and Hank pull up to the Blue Ridge Park entrance where the Geology Museum and Nature Trail are. The gates are closed and locked. There doesn't appear to be a way to get over or around the 9-foot-tall wall surrounding the entrance. Bo comes to a stop and shuts the engine off. The headlights turn off with it. Hank immediately exits the truck and strangely runs into the dark woods alone. Bo is annoyed. Hey, where you going? The gate's locked. He keeps looking around in the darkness for any movement or indication of what Hank is doing, but there is zero visibility. Bo shakes his head in frustration and taps the hood of his truck. I should leave him. He left me. It's only fair. Bo contemplates his options to himself. Just as he is about to get into the truck again, the main gate to the park entrance electronically slides open. Hank comes walking out from the other side. He motions his head toward Bo. Come on, let's go. Bo follows Hank inside the park grounds as the door closes behind them. He's suddenly worried about getting in trouble and briefly finds his conscience. What about surveillance? What about my truck? What about that ranger guy? Bo rattles off his concerns anxiously as he looks around. Hank isn't worried in the slightest. It's fine. It's all fine. Don't worry about it. I'm here to help you, not make things worse. So I really wanted to kind of amp up the intrigue and interest in Hank. I just felt it's so strange that here he is being completely altruistic and sincere, but it seems like he's doing something wrong. How did he get in? How did he know how to get in? And why is he not worried about being caught? And again, that's clearly because of how information that is explained later. But that's part of the fun for me of writing, is trying to do things that don't make sense, but then later make sense retroactively. So hopefully if you're rereading this now because you had read it before, you're like, oh, because Hank had access to this area and has kind of this history with the town and the people that he's with. Of course, he could get into the park and it not be a big deal. Now, there's also an interaction with Tommy that happens late in the story with another character that kind of hints at why this is all okay too. Let's see. Hank leads the way as he and Bo walk past the Geology Museum and head toward the trail Bo was on earlier. They walk off the path and set out into the wilderness near the area where Madison saw the wolf prints. They walk through various blue pine trees and shrubberies until they arrive at an open space surrounded by trees beside the river. Diverse wildlife can be heard making different eerie sounds under the cover of night. As the men approach Hank's targeted location, the nature sounds get quieter, eventually stopping altogether. Quick flashes in the bushes and branches show multiple critters scattering to get away. The moon is only half full and still almost makes the clearing in the woods look like daytime. There's no ambient city light to take away from the power of its glow. Hank looks up at the moon in awe as he ponders how to go about saying what he needs to say. He continues to stare up into the sky as Bo looks on in increasing fear. Bo, have you been feeling the urge? Hank asks cryptically. The urge? Bo has no clue what Hank means. To change. I'm trying to ask you in a way that isn't invasive or embarrassing. I don't want to assume what you know or what you've done, but I must prepare you for your potential and help you protect yourself. Protect myself from what? Bo's nervousness increases. Hank stops looking at the moon and turns back around to look at Bo directly. From everyone. To protect yourself from everyone. Hank is stunned Bo is not getting what he's talking about and expresses it plainly as he realizes it. You really have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? It's not a question for Hank. It's a statement now. I thought maybe you were pretending. I thought for sure you would have changed dozens of times by now, but you really haven't. Even now, out in the open, beneath her, you're clueless. Bo is defensive about his intelligence. I'm not an idiot. Hank apologizes for the miscommunication. Oh, no, I know that. I don't think that at all. Part of learning is experiencing things, new things. You just haven't done what I assumed you had done. And I know you're maybe slightly scared about my vagueness, but I sincerely, truly, am the one who is afraid. Bo's had enough. He's gone from confusion and anger to being straight fed up. Alrighty, you had your chance, man. I'm out of here. Bo turns to leave, and as he does, Hank blurts it out. You're a werewolf, Bo. Bo stops in his tracks, but is yet to turn around. Hank continues. I am too. It's part of why I had to leave. It's messy business being what we are. Bo faces his dad. He's mostly in disbelief, but he does recall the dark wolf with white slashes, and he remembered it as a monster that caused his accident. As such, he inquires further, cautiously with intrigue. So that monster or creature that I saw when I was a kid, you're going to try to tell me that's what I saw? A werewolf? And that's what I am too. Hank walks closer to Bo, but treads lightly with his hands raised defensively. Yes, that's right. Bo challenges the claim to debunk it. So prove it then. You said you were going to show me. Turn into a wolf. Hank continues to approach. I can't. I already changed earlier today, so I need time before I can again. I'm scared right now because I brought you out here to have you change for me, to help explain things for your safety. But since you have never changed, now I don't want you to because I wouldn't live through the night. Bo isn't taking Hank seriously anymore. Well, in that case, let me change right now. You deserve to die for what you did. Hank's face turns red with rage as that old anger shows itself. It is not effing funny. You cannot comprehend the awesomeness. Hank collects himself as Bo is taken aback by the outburst. Hank calms down. At least not yet, but you will. You will. So, again, I kind of want to share my thoughts, but I want to get through this too. There's not very much left. Yeah, let's finish. There's a page and a half left. Let me get through the rest of this interaction, then I'll talk about kind of this big moment in the story. Let's see. Hank meets Bo face to face and whispers, when you change, likely soon because I've never heard of it taking this long, you need to be alone, in a large place where no one can see you and you can't cause any harm. Bo doesn't think he'd hurt anyone that didn't deserve it, so I won't hurt anybody. I thought you said I was the one that needed protection. Hank continues educating. It's complicated. I'll explain more as it happens, but your first time, your very first change, your wolf side is going to be pent up. You are not going to have any consciousness or self-awareness of any kind. You'll just be an animal, and you'll be hungry. As Hank finishes his last warning, a loud branch snap echoes throughout the open clearing. Bo and Hank look up in the trees surrounding them, trying to see where the noise comes from. A straggling owl in one of the blue pine trees suddenly flies out in a panic about 30 yards to the left of them. They focus on that tree, but it is now motionless. They continue to stare and squint and wait. Bo slowly steps closer to the tree, further looking for signs of movement. Suddenly, from behind the pines in the blue-dark shadow of the tree, bright yellow eyes pierce through the clearing and lock onto Bo. As soon as Bo sees it, the wolf leaps out of the pine tree 20 feet into the air and lands in another one far away. It has the same dark fur with white slashes on its left shoulder that Bo saw when he was a kid and when he was out with Madison the other night. That's it! That's the wolf that killed Sam! Bo takes off running. Hank is worried for his son's life. Bo, no! He takes off after him. They run together in a futile attempt to try and catch up. The wolf leaps from tree to tree and easily outpaces them by several dozen yards every moment of the chase. Bo and Hank start to get winded almost instantly, and the wolf easily maintains a safe distance from them before resting on a giant tree branch. Hank bends over and puts his hands on his knees, desperate to catch a breath. Bo holds his hand on his heart and does the same. As the men dry heave and gasp for oxygen, the dark wolf with slashes sits on a large branch outstretched from a massive tree trunk, dangling in front of the moon. Bo watches as the wolf appears to rip its own head off, revealing a smaller human-shaped head underneath it. Bo taps his dad on the shoulder, who also looks and sees it. The wolf holds the large fur head on its leg like a sports helmet as the human head that had been hiding behind it tilts back and howls up at the moon. Ow! The wolf person howls playfully in a human voice, but it's impossible to identify in this lighting from this distance. The wolf then appears to put its own head back atop its body and chortles like a horse, just like it did the night Bo found it behind the rocks. The dark wolf turns and leaps away under the cover of night as both men can finally breathe and speak again. Bo looks to Hank wide-eyed, expecting an immediate, concrete explanation. So what the F was that? That's the end of chapter 11. So clearly an increase in plot and character and things really ramping up, finding out a lot of information in that chapter, getting the Bo and Hank one-on-one time, riding out to Blue Ridge Park at night, Hank telling Bo he's a werewolf, revealing and admitting that he himself is also a werewolf, and then running into the dark wolf again, and finally getting the reveal that the dark wolf might actually be a person, even though it looks exactly like a wolf. So, again, trying to avoid future spoilers here, but I will say that I now, obviously, I know who the person is in that, who that person is as the dark wolf. But for a long time, that person changed, or that person was a different person, and I'll talk about it more as we get to those later chapters. But I really, really wanted to start kind of spinning the story on its head. Here's this information, here's this information, here's this information. And to me, reading it now is finally where I'm like, we've had a lot of table setting, we've had a lot of character introduction and world building and questions being asked, and a few little moments here with the dark wolf, but here having a moment, Bo and Hank, who've just been revealed to be werewolves, chasing the leaping dark wolf, and I can really see it. It's like a low angle looking up at the tree, seeing the moon in the background, and a wolf jumping back and forth from tree to tree with Hank and Bo chasing after them. It just was like a really exciting chapter to write and a really exciting chapter to reread. That's why it was hard for me to kind of stop and talk about it throughout, because it just was really kind of building on itself. And, Hank, genuinely afraid, genuinely terrified, is why he was so trepidatious and choosing his words very carefully. It seemed a little slow, it seemed a little repetitive, because he was genuinely trying to make sure he understood the situation. Because his assumption was that, oh, sure, by now you probably already know you're a werewolf. You probably just couldn't say anything. And so I'm just here to maybe kind of help guide you and answer any questions that you might have now that I'm trying to be a better father figure for you. And so, I really feel like as far as like cliffhangers go for chapters in the book, that's one of the strongest cliffhangers, because you're a wolf, I'm a wolf, that wolf might not be a wolf. It just is like, mind blown. And so, yeah, definitely exciting to reread. One of the stronger chapters so far, and I'm really glad that it kind of held up, because in my mind, in my memory, that was kind of a big moment in the story, and it still hits. I had a lot of trouble trying to describe a wolf taking off its own head, and then there's a human head underneath it. And I just thought about this idea of a sports helmet. You can just imagine a sports helmet, somebody taking it off and revealing, a smaller human head underneath. And I just felt, well, that's kind of like how the werewolf would work. And then also your mind should be spinning like, wait, why is the only monster, the only wolf in the story so far is also a person? Are wolves even real? Do wolves even exist? Is Hank full of it? These are kind of some of the questions that I would expect readers to be asking. So if you enjoyed this chapter, or you have enjoyed any other parts of the story, please consider buying the whole book for $4.99 on digital. I've got a link for it in the video description. I'm currently working on a sequel, so you want to get caught up and get comfortable and familiar with the world of Werewolves Hide, so that you can immediately jump into book 2, because the gas pedal will be on the floor with book 2. We're not going to really do a lot of I'm going to assume book 1 is what I'll say. So yeah, if you want to continue following my author journey long term on this channel, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you do comment, please no spoilers or healthy spoiler warnings, and try to relegate it to just this chapter. No future spoilers for the rest of the book. As always, thank you for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next video.